Greetings and welcome back to Smartwatch Ticks. We're going to take a deeper dive today with this beautiful LEMFO LEM10 smartwatch. We've already done an unboxing and we've given you the quick look at what it does inside, but I want to dive deeper with you, including things like this custom watch face, which can be installed, of course, on this Android 7.1.1 watch. Before we begin, though, because these watches are sent here from our sponsors in hopes that you like them and will buy them, I want to show you that you can pick this thing up directly from the LEMFO AliExpress store eventually. You know, these videos last pretty much forever, and they're going up right now when I don't even have the basic information, because this is like a prototype first production watch we're reviewing. So, LEMFO has got a page holder for the LEM10, but no pricing or information yet. But by the time you watch this, check the link in the show notes, click on over. This should be all set up for you to buy. Over at Banggood, who is also bringing us this watch, the LEM10 is available. They do have pricing information and pre-order for this. When we did the original unboxing, we told you there's the 3 gigabytes RAM, 32 gigabytes version, and that's all there was. Well, it turns out there is a lighter version of it. It's a 1 gigabyte, 16 gigabyte, and it's considerably less money for basically the same watch with just a different memory configuration. In fact, this is the memory configuration. This is the watch that I have here in the prototype that I'm going to be demoing today. So you'll see all the things it can do with just 1 gigabyte of RAM. And a quick look at the specs, just so you don't have to refer back to the other video. It's a 360 by 320 screen watch, 1.88 inches. It's square, and because of that, it's not going to have that always-on screen that we see on the AMOLED 400 pixel round watches we've reviewed before. This is a different screen technology. It's not AMOLED, and it is really bright, though. I've had it out in direct sunlight, and it's super bright. They're claiming a 780 milliamp hour battery in the descriptor here, but it talks about 700 in the specs, so I'm not sure totally yet which one it is. But it does support 4G, LTE, data communications, of course, calling and messaging with an inserted SIM. It has a small 2 megapixel picture camera, and we've taken a quick look at that in the unboxing video. And it's got your basic apps that are installed that you've seen already. Today I'm going to show you a few additional apps that I've loaded up that make this thing really fun and functional. Let's take some measurements. Okay, we're calibrated, zeroed out. We've got our watch. How wide is it without the button? I'm looking in millimeters at 41.5. Add the crown, and you're looking at 44, just about 44. Yep. When you look at the overall body of the watch itself in length, 52 millimeters, but you add in let's squish this down a little bit, all the way to the edge of the metal on the band it comes with, 57.5 roughly, 58. I know, thickness is what you really care about. How thick is this puppy? Whew, we got to crank that down. And including the heart rate bezel, about 16 millimeters, which isn't all that bad. It's not like 12 or anything. Oh, look, 1573, but I don't think I was right on the button. Yeah, 16 millimeters thick. Okay, so what does all that mean? Probably nothing to you. What you really want, I know, is to compare this. Oops, I got it upside down. Let's pick a different watch face. How about that one? Hello, there we go. These are stock watch faces I'm showing you right now. At the end of the video, we will have the complete parade of some custom watch faces you can take a look at. But save that for the end because not everybody's interested in it. Okay, I've got it on, showing you how to do that again. Sweet. This is the LEMFO LEM10. This is the LEMFO LEM4 Pro. The only other big square watch on the market. Thicker band, overall bigger watch. Yeah, it's massive compared to this one. And it's double the width, too. What about round? How does it compare with the biggest round watch in the world? It's much smaller. This is the LEMFO LEM-X. Remember that guy? 2-inch overall screen, 2.03 or something like that. Really big screen. I know I don't have them on because they aren't all charged up, but that's what that one would look like. All right, let's step it down something a little closer. Here is the Janus. Remember the Janus watch? Yeah, this is a nice one, and it's in about the same size ballpark as this rectangular one, but it's got a round screen. Dual cameras, front facing, and a side camera, whereas the new LEM10 has just one front facing camera. But that's what that one looks like. Okay, go down just a little bit smaller. Here is a dual camera front facing LEMFO LEM4 Dual, right? A lot of interest in this particular watch. And, well, basically, the bands are not removable on this one. It's not waterproof, none of that stuff. But it looks like that. So, yeah, we're pretty much in about the same category as the LEMFO LEM4 Dual in terms of overall size. This is a 400 by 400 pixel 1.39 inch screen, 1.88 inch screen, 320 by 360. So, yeah, a little bit different there. Okay, I know you've been waiting for it, but before I show it to you, I just want to parade through some of the older square watches. Yep, folks, I keep them all. Most of them I can't even turn on anymore, but this was the X01S, the X9A, and the Z01. Dual buttons, camera on the side. These are pretty much identical. This was like everything is reversed, but these are the way earlier attempts at a square or rectangular watch, just to give you an idea of the field. And now, drum roll, please. The Final. Oh, there goes my drum. The Final Q1 Pro. This is the true competition for this watch because this one is a 4G Android 6, actually, smartwatch, rectangular, square kind of shape. And this would be what you'd really be looking at comparing this to. Got it upside down, but wait a minute. I have the button switched. It's initially supposed to be on the left-hand side, like that. Yeah, okay. And it's right side up that way, and the camera's at the top. So for this one, the button's over here. For this one, the buttons are over here. Now we're talking. Now we're talking comparison. So how do these rack up together? Well, this is what they would look like on about equal distance here. This is obviously a larger screen. I put a watch face that now you can kind of see the edges on, and this is a smaller overall screen on this watch. You have the camera at the top. What this one's lacking, and I really do miss that, is the capacitive buttons. This one has buttons that you can tap here. There's a back button, and there's a clear button. You can clear all your open apps and things on it. And this doesn't have that, but there's plenty of room for it. So that would have been really nice to have at least one, if not three, capacitive buttons. That's an advantage the Final Q1 Pro has over the LEMFO LEM10, in my estimation. In terms of size comparisons, the thickness is kind of one that you can see here. This is 16 millimeters also. It's measuring in height-wise of the screen, of the body of the watch itself is about 51 millimeters. and width-wise, it's 42 millimeters, 43. So it's overall a smaller watch. But again, it's Android 6, not Android 7.1.1. It does not have the always time display either. It does not support Bluetooth calling, although being Android 6, it theoretically has the potential to do Bluetooth calling, whereas this one doesn't even stand a chance because it doesn't work for Android 7, but it does work for some versions of Android 6. Non-removable bands here, or are they? I don't remember. It sure looks like they should be, doesn't it? I think it is. I think it's been so long. Help me out, guys. Are these removable? Yeah, I think they are. This definitely is. And that's something we have not done yet, is pop the bands off to show it to you as a pocket watch. There you go. Oh yeah, the button and the knob. I think it's just for looks. Let me get down in here deep into something like in settings, in display, in sleep. Okay, we're like 3 levels down here, right? First of all, this doesn't do anything when you turn it. You can't pull it. And when you push it, it takes you back 1 level. You push this one, it takes you right back to the watch face. But this one only takes you back 1 level at a time. Okay? And if I were down deep in here again, and I pushed this button, it takes me right back to the watch faces. There's no SOS function. If I press and hold, nothing happens. If I press and hold here, we all know what happens. You have all these options available to you. So it's just a pretty little thing that twirls and doesn't do anything but act as a back button. However, talking about waterproofing, you find something like this that goes into the body of the watch and turns and pushes. What do you guys ask me? So drop it in your fish tank, Mr. Tix. I went, heck no. I don't trust this thing and its waterproofing. I might later on if I get another one in and we really, really want to see if the IP67, means you're supposed to be able to submerge this up to 1 meter. That's 3 feet deep for 30 minutes underwater. Right now, I would say it might be splash proof, but I really wouldn't want to be washing my hands and have any water, a significant amount of water hit that area. That's just for safety. But if you guys get one and you test it out and it turns out to be really, really IP67 submersible, let us all know, okay? Otherwise, if I ever get the courage, I might try that for you, knowing that it might ruin the watch. But not yet. No, not yet. Going to enjoy the heck out of this puppy for quite a while. Here we are with a custom watch face. You see this little dot here and you saw something glow green there. Those are the first ones I call your attention to. If you're new, listen carefully. If you've been around here before, it's a good reminder about what these things are. That little thing you saw here is a slider that I've put in that lets you adjust the brightness from... Actually, you can go below 0. This is at 1% right now. This is as low as it's going to go without modifying it, but I could actually make it dimmer if I wanted to. And if you hit it just right, I'm having a little bit of tricky time with it. And if you don't get it just right, it's going to actually activate the screen. So there we go. There's 100% on that, and that will totally wash out the camera and be totally brightly viewable outdoors. So it's a really nice app to install. It'll work over any screen, including this watch face screen. Because of that, Google has pulled it from the App Store. They don't like apps that overlay on things, so you can't get it there anymore. But you can get it at the link in the show notes at the very, very bottom. DT number 1 sponsors a section we call a Smartwatch Resource Center. And the link in there that takes you over to that center has this and several other apps that you can download. For example, this little dot here. When I touch the dot, I get this launcher that comes up on top that lets me go to a lot of different places, do a lot of different things, system stuff. You can install your own custom apps. You can go home. You can, and this is a really neat feature. See that little circle right there? that lets you change the timeout time on your screen right here, following all the things you have from 15 seconds up to 30 minutes. And at the end of the 30 minutes, there's one more setting that gives you the infinity sign. You see that? Which is always on. That is a way that you can make this watch have the screen always on if battery life isn't a concern of yours. If whatever you're doing, you're going to do for an hour or two and you don't care, why not give you the right to have always on screen, right? Well, there you go. I can hit the home, puts that thing away, and we're back to the screen. And now this watch is not going to turn off on me. I like that during the review. And I can talk and talk and talk and talk and talk, right? Okay, I slide down. We talked about this. Go into a little more detail. You have a circle that's showing the power level, and you have date and whatnot, and a percentage is shown there as well. But here is where you'll see whether you have 3G, 4G, or what kind of SIM connectivity. And the SIM card itself installs on the side behind here. And this, of course, is your Bluetooth tethering to the Watch 2 app in your phone. When it's tethered, that'll be lit up, and that'll be lit up if you have a SIM card. Again, for this watch, you do not have Bluetooth calling. You can connect to receive notifications, take selfie pictures with a trigger, all those kind of normal things, but you cannot make or receive phone calls made to your phone through the watch. Tethered phone calling. It's just not supported by Android 7.1. It's not a fault of this watch. It's a problem with the operating system. You have to step back 2 generations, a couple of years ago, to the Android 5.1 watches. The only other close square one is the LEMFO LEM4, which is about this high and about that wide, twice as wide. It's a big watch, but it's Android 5.1 and it does do Bluetooth calling. So that's, I don't know, it's a problem, and they haven't resolved it yet, so you don't get Bluetooth calling. That screen is where you've got your location services, and we did mention on the other one, I'm going to bring it back up again, that in the fitness app that's in here, which is your basic fitness app, it's the original version that does not interface with GPS for doing things like running, walking, cycling, hiking, any of that activities. When it does interface, it's great because you can get a track on a map and much more accurate distance data for whatever you're doing. But the fitness app in this one will only work with the pedometer. It's the same old style. That is something that usually can be updated through a firmware push. So hopefully down the road, they'll bring that feature into this watch with the updated fitness app. Okay. The rest of it, the cleanup, I don't even know what that does, and on and on and on. I don't want to go over the same thing we covered. I'd really like to get into the apps. 2 different ways. 2 different ways. You've got this screen here when you slide over, where they show up as chicklets. Well, actually 3. You have another version of this that I showed in the other video that looks like the Apple Watch, where they're all flat on the screen and you can scroll around to try to find them. We'll show you that later if I remember. Or you have this layout here where you have pages of them as big icons, 9 to a page, right? And then you have a different way of looking at it that comes in with that floating toucher on the dot. So let me first tell you, and we're going deeper now. This is deeper than the first look. Here's a deeper new thing that you find out. Some watches, old ones, long time ago, you could press on one of these icons and the whole thing would vibrate, and then you could move it and you could reorder them and put the one you like at the top and reorder them literally across all of the different pages. Well, you cannot do that here. You press and hold and nothing happens. It's unfortunate. That would be really nice if it did, but it doesn't. So you don't have that capability. What you do have is when you touch the dot, you can touch this little icon in the upper right-hand corner of the stock version of this floating toucher app, and that gives you all of your apps in alphabetical order, 4 to a screen, or 4 to a line, and 4 to a screen, or to the square. So, and they scroll smoothly. So if you know what you're looking for, it's really easy to use this feature to get to it and find it. And that's from the floating toucher, but that's the other app you have to install. What I've done in the settings of floating toucher, by the way, floating toucher was a free app, and then all of these special features I'm showing you now was a paid app. And you got the free app, you could just basically do what you saw at the beginning, but what I'm about to show you required paying money. Since it was pulled from the Google Play Store and basically inactivated, the free version defaults to the paid version for some reason. And I sure wish I knew how to get a hold of the guy who wrote it so you guys could donate a buck or two, because this is an awesome app and it's not available anymore. But the benefit is you can actually make changes to the app. And one of them I made was I just double tap that little circle. Well, that was a single tap. Double tap it. Come on, don't do this to me. There, I made it so it double taps and opens the apps. Sweet. If I single tap it and hold it, it turns on the flashlight. And sometimes I need to do that getting out of the car so I can get all my stuff together. And you can cancel out of that and it'll come right back to where it was. And you can get back to the watch face. So some modifications available for that. So I recommend you dive into Floating Toucher to see all the things you can do, including setting it up so you don't have to use these buttons on the side to turn your watch off. Nice, huh? You can twist it to light it up if you have that mode set, and if it's going to behave for you. Well, maybe we'll show you that as I show you this, the band. There, it finally kicked in. The band I've been playing with, I was freaked out a little bit. It's a really weird, different kind of band. It's very stretchy cloth material with Velcro spots on it. And what I found, if I just Velcro it kind of toward that end there, even with my relatively large hands, I can stretch the thing and pull it over. Pull on this, get this about in the center of my arm, push it back up this way, wrap it over, and there you go. It's just about the right thickness and fits perfectly on my wrist. I can take it off, but not like this. I have to pull it back, but fortunately it stops right there. I'll usually loop it over so it doesn't pull the whole thing out, but because it's stretchy, I can pull it right off. Very, very nice. Okay, we're going to dive into the apps now. This is what I was talking about. Check it out. It's just like on the Apple Watch where you've got all your apps in bubbles. In fact, it's called the bubble layout, and you can slide around, except if I wanted to get to one of these apps over here, it's not going to quite do it. So it's not fully thought out, but it is cute. How did I get there? From System Settings, I went down to App List Style and chose Bubble. But honestly, Matrix is the best way to go because it's just going to be in little squares. And it's a little too bright for us, so let's dim that down some more. Wow, I am down at 1%, folks, and that's just about right for indoors to show you on the camera without them blooming out. This is a very bright watch. It may not be an AMOLED screen, but whatever they're doing, they're getting a bunch of nits out there because it's when you crank that up, it's really bright. You can literally look at it in direct sunlight when it's and you don't even have the brightness full. All right, we're in the apps, and I want to first go into the tech stuff for you techie guys. We have in here Antutu, and goodness knows where it is. There they were. It went back that way. I'll do it this way, but I was going to say I can push the button and find them alphabetically instantly. But it's not, if you don't have too many in here, but if you do like I do, I load my watches up. That's a godsend, being able to go in there and just get them alphabetical. Okay. Antutu has a basic one and a 3D. Now, this is the older version of the Antutu, the original that had all the benchmarks that matched everything else. If you jump over to Chig's Tech Reviews and watch the one he did on this particular app, Antutu, and how they messed it up totally when they revised it, and now you cannot compare against anything else. You'll see why I'm sticking with the original. It asked me to turn on permissions. This is the reason, one of the reasons why Bluetooth calling doesn't work and a lot of other things in Android 7. If you notice, every edition of Android gets tighter and tighter on permissions and security and everything else. And same is true here. But I am allowed with Antutu to go into the actual settings for the app and give it those permissions directly. It's not cueing me like on your phone. It'll oftentimes give you the little dialog box and say, do you give permissions to do your camera, your microphone, your contacts, and on and on and on. You saw here I have to check them manually. But they figured that out for this. If they can figure that out for Bluetooth calling, how to give permission to your contacts and the microphone, for example, then we're home free. But they aren't there yet. Anyway, I talk and I could be testing. So we're looking at a benchmark test now, and notice the dot jumped over here. That's because the app turned the image landscape sideways. And if you're familiar with Antutu reports, it goes through a variety of stages, one of which is this marooned visualization. It's a graphic. It loads it up and it tests the ability of the watch or phone to run this spacey 3D graphic thing. Now, things you can look for are smoothness of movement. I believe this has sound to it, but I think I have the sound turned off from last night. I didn't want it to disturb, so sorry about that. There's no audio, but normally there would be. But you see, it's pretty smooth. Got a little bit of jerkiness every now and then. The older watches a couple of years ago wouldn't even run this graphic. You needed at least 1 gigabyte of RAM and a faster processor, so it would just skip this one and go to the garden scene with the samurai people, which is coming up. But this one will run it, so it's accumulating data and it's running a graphic. And for you gamers out there, I know it looks really slow. Say 1920 by 1080 off-screen rendering, so it's checking, I guess, beyond the edge of the screen, because remember, we're 320 by 360 on this one. I may use this in a contest someday. So, in the LEM10 unboxing and first look video, what is the caliper reading for the bandwidth? Exactly. Can you read that? Remember that. Mark it down somewhere. You may win a watch someday. Now it flips over 360 by 320 to the garden in the size that fits on the screen, and it'll portray that little graphic for us as well. I'll play just a moment of it, and then I'm going to stop and let this whole thing complete, because after those two graphics, it goes for about 5 minutes testing all kinds of other things, and then it comes back to us. You don't need to sit through all that, but I do want you to see the rendering on this. Again, it's a little sticky. See that? It's not smooth. It's jerky. And when there's fade-ins and fade-outs, you want to look at the quality of that. Does it fade smoothly or not? Not. Look at that. Yeah, we've seen better on other watches with this graphic. So at this point, I'm not expecting a high score, 20,000 maximum, 15 to 20,000 would be my guess. Whereas some Android watches, we've seen up to 35,000 for the score. What's your guess? Well, you're about to know, because I'm going to stop this and scoot right to the number. Here you go. Well, there you go. Not too far off. Okay, 19,500. That's not screaming. It's okay. Remember, this is the 1 gigabyte version. The 3 gigabyte RAM I would expect to be higher, maybe 20 to 25,000-ish. But then again, who knows? You really have to check it out. Which, by the way, hopefully going to get another unit in from Banggood with the 3 gigabyte, 32 gigabyte memory and a different, well, it'll be the same camera, but we seem to have a little issue with this camera, and I think it's just a default of the camera module itself. But I want to verify that with another unit so we can really confirm that situation. So that's why we got Banggood in here, as well as the AliExpress store presence for you. Okay, here's another nice thing, because this is a square watch. I can click back here and get to this screen, and you get access to these things that on a round watch would be impossible to see unless you went in and reduced it inside the little square in the circle. I mean, a lot of people like square watches for that particular fact. And since Apple is only doing square watches, which look awfully like this, don't they? Yeah. It does make sense to go with a square watch. So when I go down here and I press this info, Now it's kind of dim, huh? Okay, let's brighten that up if I can get that little slider going. There, let's bring this up a bit. Yeah, that's easier to see. Going to scroll through here now and show you a little bit more of the specs of the watch. And I'm going to skip past my IMEI, get you down here to the storage. Here's the RAM. Here's the CPU information, the display. And I do want to test something here for you. It's called multi-touch. We usually do that on the pictures to see if we can pinch and expand. I go into the touch, and when you touch it somewhere, you get a circle, if you can see that around my thumb, for one touch. Then I touch a second time. If it supports it, you'd get another circle that says 2. This does not support multi-touch, which means you won't have pinch and zoom on anything, maps, pictures, whatever. It just supports one. Oh, wait a minute. Did you see a second circle? I see a second circle. Oh, it does. Heck, I tried this before and I didn't see the second one. There you go. Well, maybe the pictures will expand. We'll try that. That's why we go through these videos, folks. Discover it together. It's got 2 touch me. Could it do 3? I don't know. No, it does 2. I've got 2 going, but not 3. We don't need 3 on a watch anyway, come on. But it looks like it does do multi-touch. Oh, that's great. I was a bit disappointed that it wasn't going to do that. There's the camera info. It's not that great of a camera overall, but it does work for selfie pictures. It's claiming, 4.9 megapixel camera? In the specs, it said 2 megapixel, but the raw camera is 5 megapixel. So, I don't know, I'm having a harder time trusting the specs these days. And they're cheating themselves if they're saying 2 megapixel when it's really a 5 that's installed in here. Anyway, that's the resolution when you multiply it out. It should come out to 5 megapixels, I guess, as the raw picture quality. There's the battery information, temperature, the operating system, and the kernel version, and all of those things. No NFC in it. Network is on Wi-Fi. These are the sensors, most of which are not supported. And this is not accurate on this part because it says heart rate's not supported, but it is. I wish we could get someplace to really trust all the specs that we see. But that's what Antutu reports, and that's what we're going to go with for basic information, unless we know it's wrong, in which case heart rate, for example, it does do that. It has the sensor on the back, and that was one of the features we pointed out from the other video, was that the heart rate is continuous. Oh, sorry. Yes, it's way too bright, isn't it? Oh, I don't want to download anything. Cancel. We're trying to zoom that back down again so the screen is visible. Okay, I've come back to the watch face. That's the Antutu report. We've got a couple of other things that we can go into, which I will get into by double tapping here, bringing up the apps. We have an engineering mode, MTK, under E, right there. When we get into here, this is going to need to be, you have access to the developer options in order to test this. And this is where we're going to actually test the GPS. Now, I'm going to tell you something, because this is a deeper dive. But I'm going to really warn you, some of you guys have totally screwed up your watch to the point where it's non-functional, and the only thing you can do is flash firmware to it. And if you don't know how to do that, your goose is really cooked. But I can't show you the GPS stuff without being able to run that app, and I can't run that app unless I activate the developers mode. So I'm going to go into settings. I'm going to come all the way down to About the Watch. Now it says Developer Options, but when you look at this, it only has one thing, USB debugging. We're going to go all the way to the bottom to the build number. Don't do this. If you mess with anything after this, it's on you, okay? I'm just opening the door. If you walk in and mess things up, it's your fault. I'm going to tap this a bunch of times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 times you saw that. I'm tapping on the build number, And now I'm in the full developer options, which includes things about the screen. And if you mess with any of the settings of the screen to try to change the resolution, well, you'll get a different look to the screen, but it won't line up with where the touch points are. And yeah, you're like in Never Never Land. You're never going to get out of that. Don't do that, okay, folks? So we were doing the engineering mode MTK. I could go that way, but to keep you moving so you can see different ways of doing things from the main screen, I can press and hold over here, and I can go to recent tasks. There's recent tasks. Here's with settings. We don't need that. There was Antutu, and this is the one we're working with, engineering mode MTK. Now it's working. There's telephony, connectivity, and hardware testing, location services. I believe this is what we want, location-based services. We come over here and we tap GPS, okay? And we scroll up and it says it's off, so I'm going to turn it on. Now, it's updating and turning on the GPS. When we tap on view, we get this circle, which sort of represents looking up at the sky and where all of the GPS satellites are right now as they're going overhead. And it supports GLONASS, right? And GPS and I don't know, some other stuff. We want to be on the GPS. We're going to set it there. Now, notoriously, these watches have a hard time indoors doing this. Outdoors, usually it's fine. And the first time they hook up usually takes a long time because it also has to update the library of information about where these satellites are to give it an advantage for looking for the signals. It's complicated. So complicated that I'm just going to shut up, turn this off, go outside, get GPS, and come back in. There. Well, sort of there. You see the green ones? When I was outside, they were all lit up and pretty high. Now they're just like a half a height, but they are holding it green. Some of the GPS modules won't even stay synced up indoors. And really, you know, GPS is actually for use outdoors when you're hiking or walking or doing stuff. There we go. Now it's coming in stronger. Okay, so it just took a while to get it all set up and settled down. And that's one of the things that we can do with this particular engineering mode MTK. I think it's in the Google Play Store. If it's not, I'll have it in our special section for you. Again, check the show notes at the very bottom. The little stripe at the bottom that's sponsored by DT number 1. Thank you, guys. They're helping to fund me keeping that thing going for you with all kinds of goodies in there, including these apps that are no longer available. Okay, next. I got one more testing app for you in here. Alphabetically, it's way down at the bottom. Here we go. Wi-Fi signal strength. Simple thing. It's giving me 84, 93. I know it cuts off halfway, but you can kind of read it. It's funky about that. And I don't use it very often because it's like with Wi-Fi, you either got it or you don't. But if you want to see how far away you can get from your Wi-Fi router and still have a decent signal, you could use this app as well. Okay, that's a good overview of some testing apps. I'm just going to jump through now and highlight a few different apps for you. Well, I can always go that way if I don't double tap it right. AIDA64 is another full-featured testing app that gives you a lot of information we already looked at in the Antutu report. Alpine Quest, that's a mapping kind of an app, not a navigation one like Google Maps, but it gives you a nice overall map. The app backup and restore is something that if you're working with putting apps on a watch through side loading, meaning, you know, you're going to connect the wire and put them in that way rather than go through the Google Play Store. This is a good one because it'll actually back up all the apps on your phone or your watch or whatever and get the individual APK files. And those are what's needed for installing. So I use this all the time. And basically how I got most all of these apps on here is I have a folder on my computer filled with apps. I connect the charger cable with the USB into my computer. I give permission to mount it as a drive, and I just drag them all over there. And then in File Manager, I'll show you that process. File Manager, which comes with it, of course. See, all the yellow is how much I've used up. I've got all kinds of stuff in my 16 gigabytes of storage already. I have a folder I call Apps Core. Those are my core apps. I go in here, there's some camera apps, different launchers. No, we're not going to talk about that, but that's a whole nother fun area, launchers. New ones, visualizers, and then there's just a bunch of lists. There's that Alpine Quest that I was talking about. And the way you put any of these things in here, these are the APKs. Breathing zone we'll talk about. I got calculators. What don't I have? That I forgot all of that. There's these flipboards in here. Gesture search, that's another really good one where you can scroll to enter for getting access to stuff. And yeah, that's not in the Google Play Store either. So that's a good one to load in for accessing deeper levels of the system. In fact, it reminds me, we're going to show you another one on that here in a minute. Google Keyboard. Okay, the Google Keyboard I have installed. I want to show you that too. It's not the Google Keyboard anymore. It's been upgraded to Gboard. That's what they're calling it these days. I can't even make this dim enough to show right on the screen. The Gboard keyboard is really, really good. I highly recommend it. Okay, Google Play. That's something I don't have installed. I hit next, and do I want to install it? And I say okay, and I install it. And so Google Play Music is going to be installed now, not going through the Google Play Store, but using the APK that I had downloaded before from the Google Play Store and using App Backup and Restore to, in a sense, pull it back out of the installation process to make the actual file itself, so then I could migrate it over here. And I could say done or open it directly from here, and now that's been installed with all the other apps. Google Hangouts, I got that in here. That's where you use the front-facing camera. You could use Messenger or Skype or any of those things for your video conferencing. And in your Wi-Fi zone, it really works well. But anyway, I'm jumping all over the place. Let me get back here and show you this. I'm going to go into my browser. I'll just go into it this way. Browser. That's the stock browser that comes with it, and it's pretty lame. I use Apis browser, an early version of that, but you could use Chrome, whatever you like to. I'm going to go in here to the search area just so that I can force it to bring up the keyboard. And now you see the Gboard keyboard. It's really nice on a square watch. You got the Google, all the Google stuff that goes with it, including the voice input right there. And you can go into the overall system settings and modify it to your heart's desire. Change themes. You can do glide typing, voice typing, modify the dictionary, change your languages, advanced stuff. It's Google's keyboard, and it actually now really works well on the watch. So I recommend you download that one and replace the stock keyboard with the Gboard keyboard. Okay, what else? Let's talk about camera. Here's the camera app that we used before, and there I am, and I'm going to take a quick picture, and there I am in the picture. Okay, now we wanted to see what happens for zooming. I'm going to double tap. Whoa! Holy cow, that's my nose. Where's my eye? Wow. Double tap again, zooms out. Double tap, double tap. Okay. Also, you notice it's kind of looking funny at the top. That's the camera module I'm talking about, and that's not normal. I'm not going to berate the watch for that because it's like the first one off the production line. Prototypes sometimes have little bugs in them, but that's not right. I don't think it's fit in there right, and it's kind of smearing on the top. But what we wanted to do is see if we can pinch and zoom, and we can. This is that 2-point touch. There's my ear, and I can zoom way in there. Now, you notice there's a lot of pixelation. So I'm going to posture propose that this is actually a 2 megapixel camera, and the pixels have been up interpolated to 5 megapixels. So the actual resolution of the camera is only 2 megapixels, but we're looking at it as if it were a 5 megapixel. But when you start to zoom in more and more, you start to see the fuzziness of the picture. I don't know for sure, but that would make sense to me with the readings that we were getting that said that the raw video or raw picture was 5 megapixels. That might be true, but it might be that the actual element is only producing 2 megapixels. So here's a picture, but this is using the stock camera. But another camera that I highly recommend is called Open Camera. Now I've already set this up and I've played with it a little bit and set it the way I like it so you can see it. There it is, and now you see I've got a full screen picture, and if I get it just right, hello? Okay, watch this. I'm there, you see the square come on? It's identifying me as a face, and this has got a setting that you can do for face focus, basically. And since this is a selfie camera, you're primarily going to be using it to take a picture of yourself. You won't have all this other junk in the screen like I do. You'll be walking around with it on your arm, and maybe far away, maybe closer, but it's going to follow you. And then when you take the picture, there, I set it so that it will freeze the picture on the screen for a while, and I can choose to delete it. You see next to my little dot down there, I've got the trash can. There, I just threw that one away. Let's try another one. Whee! Okay, I'll buy that. And there you go. You get the picture. And you can play with a thing that will level them or change them. It's a very robust camera. And because of how it's set up, it works really well on a small format. You can do video as well as picture, and we should have that double zoom thing. Oh, yeah, that was just a picture. I would have to touch it now to bring it back up. And there you go. And then double tap to get down deep inside Mr. Tick's throat. Woo! Okay. So open camera recommendation for you there. That's a lot of the busy stuff. There's some fun things in here that we can play with. Let's get into some of that. I always like the koi pond, and that's a good demo one for the smoothness of the way the watch works. And you could literally wear this on your arm with the koi swimming around. You can use that floating toucher to set the screen always on. And I'd test how long your battery will live that way. You can, of course, turn this brightness up or down however you would like. There's a few different visualization type apps that work really well in this environment. There's something for speed reading called Bolt, B-O-L-T. Here it is, Bolto speed reading. And this is a fun thing. I haven't really set it up, but what I'll tell you, when you get into it, it's going to give you words here, and you can set the words per minute that you'd like to read at, and it will show you the sentence. You can see the sentence going by, but there's just one word right there, and you just relax and focus your eyes right there, and you'll be able to read a whole article in a large size font and not have to worry about, scrolling and reading and stuff like that. It's just a different way of reading, really efficient, and like I said, you can practice cranking it up and learning how to read really quickly. That's 750 words a minute, and I bet most of you are reading it. Yeah, very, very fancy. Okay, Bolto speed reading. I believe that's in the Google Play Store as well. Okay, navigating in, there's the Apis browser I told you about. Breath Zone. Breathing came out way before Apple tried to make something big out of it, but they bought the company that made this, which was originally Android, and and put it on the Apple Watch, and it's available, of course, on Android. Now I can do this. I can tap it, and I can show the image on the screen. Now what you can't feel is I've set this for silent mode for vibration. At this point, it gives a long vibration, which means exhale. And at this point, it gives a quick vibration, which means inhale. So I can drive my car and stay in a relaxed state of breathing, and I've got it entrained to start from like 6 breaths per minute and go all the way down to 4 breaths per minute. And you can look at the visual, or you can just feel for the watch, or you can change it and turn it on where the voice will say, breathe in, breathe out, or you can follow a tone or a tune or whatever you'd like. It's very, very capable. See, it's extending my breath each time it supposedly breathes. I set it for 5 minutes, but you can calibrate it to go for however you long, 10 minutes, an hour. For the mindfulness experts and practitioners amongst you, this one is a great app, and that was Breathing Zone. It's called Breathing Zone. Okay, other calculators you can install. Those are fun. There's a great tip calculator I got in here. The fitness section, this is what we talked about, just to show you again. All of these fitness activities do not integrate with GPS. So when you actually go, they start up right now, and they don't do the GPS acquisition to track your distance. And that's really unfortunate. We'd like to see this blue icon flashing, meaning it's acquiring GPS. And of course, when you stop this one, how do we do that over here? If you just tap finish, it stops it. And the advanced version, as you well know, you have to hold that button down and wait for the circle to finish to stop, so you can't accidentally stop it in the middle of a workout. That's the stock app that comes with it, and it's limited by its capability, but hopefully will be updated one of these days through a firmware update and give you the integration you need. Flipboard, another news source that's really good, graphic and visual, that I encourage you to download. Google, the regular Google app, you can install it if it doesn't show up directly from the Google Play Store, and that gives you, your basic Google with the OK trigger word that you can work with. It's not the Google Assistant, however. Assistant won't run on the 1 gigabyte version, and I did try it on here. It just doesn't even show up from the Play Store to install. So you're limited to the basic Google. But this new thing from Google called Google Go, have you seen that? This is really sweet for watches. It's got all these different little app icons showing up here. It's showing you what's trending, and then it gets into things like Wikipedia and Reddit, and just great. Download this Google Go on your phone and mess around with it to get familiar with it, and then you can see where you want to go from there. You've got searches, you've got the lens, which is the thing that you can take pictures of things, and Google will tell you what it is you're looking for, or give you all the Google search on the image. Robust app. I don't want to spend a lot of time on a tiny little screen going over that, but definitely worth checking out. And it's something new now. What was that? Oh, we got another screen over there. Well, okay. Something worth checking out now on a square, large watch. For those of you light gamers out here, there's Labyrinth Light, which is a basic little labyrinth game. I could do some demo levels. I'm qualified for demo. Because you have the gyroscope thingy in here, you can play the game with this. Yay! All right. Again, the screen's kind of washed out because the brightness is still so bright. All right, I'll show you now. I'm going to turn on negative brightness. You want to do that? Let's go in here and go to our display brightness. This is what the app looks like. You can put the slider anywhere you want. I'm going to go down here. You can set the length of it, and you can turn on allow negative brightness right there. See, right now it's from 1 to 100. I click that, and I can actually allow it to go lower than 0. And it does that by putting a filter on top of it. So now, when I come down, there, I'm minus 67. There's minus 5. There's 17. So, yeah, I have a lot more capability. And now I can make it something like this, that when I come back out of here to the labyrinth, now you can see it a little clearer, right? Bouncing around. Okay. Yeah, I need to run this particular watch because the screen is so bright in that negative brightness level. Okay, few more things, then we'll wrap it up. That was a labyrinth that we were looking at. You've got Haystack is a great video streaming news app. I use that on my phone all the time and tablet, but it also works here on the watch too. You've got the heart rate monitor is what's built into it. Django, any of the radio type things you want. The Koi Pond we've looked at. Google Play Music we just installed. Pocket is a great, great app for reading articles that you are interested in. And Pocket, in the square mode, you can get to the icons at the top easily. Has a headphone one. You press that button, and it'll literally read the article out loud to you, rather than you have to read it on the watch, which is really great. Some more visualizations, the quintessential candle that you can take with you to a concert somewhere, tap it to light it, and extinguish it with a smoke. That's a good place to close the app, I think. So you guys remember the video we did on SpeedTalk Mobile, the T-Mobile SIM card you can put in a watch that's custom made for it? For $5 a month, you get calling and texting and data. Well, I've got that SIM card in here. Oh, and I got a link in the video if you're interested in picking one of those up. It's a pretty decent deal. But before we test the SIM card, I want to show you the speed test analysis of the Wi-Fi. So currently, the watch is set up with Wi-Fi turned on and cellular turned off. And we're getting a download, upload look at your standard Wi-Fi hookup, which, as you can see, it pegged the meter completely off the chart, getting about 31 megabits per second download, and upload is usually throttled back to about 10, which is reasonable for most households, and I've got 11.39. Now, what I'm going to do is come back out of here, go down here. Notice I'm 4G, it says. A little bright for you. Okay, there, more readable. We're going to turn off Wi-Fi. We're going to turn on cellular. I'm going to press and hold the side button, come back to recent tasks, bring back up SpeedTalk, and hit test again. Now this time, it's going to be pinging through the T-Mobile network and give us a reading at the 4G level. So with a 4G SIM in the card, Wi-Fi turned off, looks like we're coming in at almost 5 megabits per second for download speed. Yep, right at. And for the upload speed, it's going to, of course, be a little bit lower. Usually it's about 2 in that neighborhood. And what do we got? Come on, come on. Ooh, 0.8. Okay, it bounces all over the place. I was getting 2 megabits earlier. And that's, of course, when you're sending something like a text message or sending out a request for Google to search something or whatever, and the download speed is the speed it comes into you. You should be able to play YouTube videos, low resolution, on the watch with that kind of data throughput without any problem. So we do have a decent cellular hookup on here. It needs to be on the GSM network, and in the USA, that's either AT&T or T-Mobile, directly from the carriers, or, like I said, you can get a special smartwatch SIM card from SpeedTalk Mobile for $5 a month, and put that in your watch. With its own phone number, you can make and receive calls, 2 cents per minute, I think, or per call, and data rates as well. All right. Hey, a shout out to Alrod, one of our watch face designers for Android smartwatches, who's already jumping on the bandwagon to design a watch face for this new 360 by 320 screen. He wanted to know how this one looks. Well, here it is. This is his first attempt, and I'm sure he's got a bunch more coming. So check the show notes also for a link over to Alrod's creations. He's got them for the wide LEM4 Plus, and now for the LEM10, and of course for the round ones from the LEMX all the way down to the standard 1.39 inch 400 by 400. Everybody makes it smartwatch, okay? What have we got? We've got a notice, 15 minutes with traffic. So there, you guys sometimes ask, what does the font look like when you get messages? That's what it looks like. It's readable, and it's in color. Cool, covered two things at once. LEMFO has their official AliExpress store available. The show notes have the link directly to the site where they will be selling the LEM10 directly from the company, and this is probably where you're going to focus any of your questions as well. If you have any issues, difficulties, or concerns about the watch, you can reach them right there. In the meantime, you can definitely pick this up as well from Banggood. We have another one, like I said, on the way out here, the official 3 GB, 32 GB camera or memory with the camera that we're going to check out in a hopefully different color too, the silver one, so we can contrast them. That's available right now, listed for pre-order for about $160. The one that I'm looking at right now and showed you with the lower memory is only 130, so if you don't need the beefy memory, you can certainly pick up the 1 GB, 16 GB version from Banggood as well. And enjoy the heck out of your brand new LEMFO LEM10 with the expandable band, the Milanese style of connection, with the always continuously running heart rate that you can get into, with this on. And of course you can adjust the screen to be always on if you want to. We showed you that again from the floating toucher icon. Right over here, set it for infinity and the screen will stay on. Oh, I went and wiped myself out and went back home. And you'll have a live running heart rate monitor. It's going to eat away at your battery. Any of this stuff is, but we got a beefy 700 plus milliamp hour battery in it. So you should be getting some relatively decent life. If you're really trying to squeeze a whole day, 2 days, whatever, out of this watch, you're not going to want to run the screen 24/7 like this. You're going to leave it at 15 seconds, leave the brightness down, and try to maximize your life on a watch. But I've seen so many people focusing on how long does it last without thinking of the possibilities of just bringing your charger and charging it for a half an hour in the middle of the day or whatever. It can't be 123. That's ridiculous. Use it. Use the watch. Let the brightness be there. Let the watch stay on and charge it more often is what I would say. Maybe I am up at 100 some odd. Anyway, you've been watching Smartwatch Ticks. This is a diving deep dive into the LEMFO LEM10. I've showed you where you can get it. It's all in our show notes. We appreciate you being here and your subscription. Have we covered everything? I think so. We'll see you again soon. There. Now I can relax. Breathe in, breathe out. Wow, that was fun. I sure love doing these reviews. Thanks for sticking with us as long as you have. And if you want to stick around a little longer, we're going to parade through a bunch of different custom watch faces. This is one of the stock ones, and I'm just going to go through them. This is going to take as long as it takes. It's for those who appreciate this stuff. One or two things I want to mention is, I don't remember who did all these watch faces anymore. They're all jumbled up. Normally I change the titles so I can rank them in an alphabetical order, because when you install them it sorts by alphabet, right? And so I've lost track of them all. And if you see one you absolutely love, Well, good luck finding it. There are resources, and I've got a whole video out. I'll have it in the show notes that takes you to where you can find these custom watch faces now that Google shut down the G Plus network, which was where all of them pretty much lived for a couple of years. So we're just going to take a look, give you guys some ideas. I want to show you this one in particular. These are thoughts and things that you can think about if you're a designer, and if you're just a watch aficionado, is that the right pronunciation? Then these might be faces you'd like to gravitate toward to download. We have a mix of round and we have square, and each style looks different on this watch, as you're about to see. And then there's this one. This is the only one I've ever seen. Correct me if I'm wrong, gang, but on an Android watch, you don't have complications, right? You have the ability to see things with data on them, but none of them activate as buttons. It's just not done. Are you ready? With this one little finger, I can tap that button and start launching my heart rate checker. Did you see that? You want to see it again? Then rewind the video. Oh, I can be mean. Boom! He says it's now pulling in songs from somewhere. 82 of them, as a matter of fact. I got my player there. Boom! I touched that one. Nothing happens. I thought that might take me to a calendar. And that one is just their logo. But I got two complications, if that's the right term for buttons that appear on a watch face that are active on this screen and this screen only. All the other stock faces in here are just picture faces with date and time on them. Okay, this one I thought, well, maybe I could touch things and get complications here, but nothing works. But it does work on that one face, which introduces a whole world of possibilities for those of you who want to design. What we don't have, though, is the code behind this one. And if any of you guys are able to extract it and give us the code for complication integration into a watch face on an Android smartwatch, well, heck, I might send you a free watch. That would be worth a free watch, I tell you. All right, I'm going to go through these. These are some fun, different kind of watch faces. Here, a guy has figured out a way to box a round watch. So I think it's by accident, but it's a really big, beautiful, bright display, easy to read, and his style is to have a box around it. Now, normally I've seen those on round watches, but that's what it looks like here. This is one I believe was designed initially for the LEM4, the wider watch, but it scales nicely. I think there's some stuff cut off, but nothing meaningful on the sides. Scales nicely for this watch. Here you go, another one of these round ones with a white box around it. So you know, at least this designer, when you see these, that's from this particular designer. This one's fun. I love this one with the colors shifting. And now you look and you've got a round watch within a square body on a tubular arm. It's okay. It's okay. It doesn't necessarily have to be square. I don't know. Everybody's got their own opinion on that. But I do have a lot of round watches in here because it just works. Now here's one we've got that's laid out with no indication of square or roundness. It's got a hint of round going on, and I presume that's step count or seconds or something. It's ticking all this stuff off. Fun little watch face. And remember, the dot that's here is from that floating toucher app. In fact, what I can do is try and move that puppy up out of the way somewhat so it doesn't interfere with the overall feel of it. Oh, good. It just changed seconds. You see how the second hand is swirling around that way. Really love a lot of these watch faces. They're fun. Here's an interesting deep red one. Yeah. No box around it, so it stands alone. So you get a different vibe when you take away the box or the highlight that indicates that it's within a square environment. This one is really cool. Again, the design, we've seen that one before. The design of the flywheel, I think, is phenomenal because it gives the illusion that it really is whipping back and forth fast, right? Because it's kind of blurry. I've seen some with flywheels and gears and things, and they're moving and they're sweet and nice, but nothing quite like that. Now here's one that's sort of like the one we just saw with the complications on it. Of course, these are not active, and it's been scrunched a little because it's made for square or possibly even the LEM4 with a wide portrayal. But that just needs to be modified a little bit, enhanced a little bit, and all these things can be in the corners. And now you've got an Apple Series 5, is it? Look to it. Here's a full-fledged, true 24-hour watch face, separated with day and night. And you can see right now it's at this particular time. Wow, this is interesting. Okay. Anyway, there you go. The moon, where the moon would look like, and the sun and so forth, or the horizon, I guess, the sunrise, sunset. They're not accurate. I mean, it's just a representation. I love this one. It's been around ages. That's a little piece of paper. I'm going to dim it down now so you can see the folds in the paper. Isn't that cool? Let's write on to this one. And now we need a little bit brighter with a fidget spinner. And you guys know when you see your watch, right? Because I know a lot of you developers, watch face developers, are out there and keeping an eye on, is he going to show my watch face? And yeah, I am. This is a huge compilation of a lot of contributors' talent to the whole equation. Here's one that's a fancy flying jet that's pointing at part of the time with compass and rotating dial. And yeah, you really can customize these watches to match your mood. This is an esoteric ghost ship that comes into view and then disappears out of view again. Round yet impactful with its center image. And they go on and on. But that's why we're here, right? That one I really like. That's a fun one. Does nice with skin tone as well when you're wearing it. This is the one I've been showing throughout the review because it really fills everything up. It's one of the few, look at this, almost to the bottom and top and edge to edge. In fact, it's a little too large. It's scrolling off the edge slightly, and it's got all the information on it. This will be my common watch face because it's just so filled with stuff. And when I want to look at stuff, I want to see the stuff, and it's really bright. And remember, I've got this dimmed way down. If I pump that up to 100%, this, you can put it right in direct sunlight and see it. Here's another fun, kind of the same shade of blue, analog type of a watch with the hands on it, giving you the time. Here's another really beautiful, interesting design. You can see the gears turning down below. Yeah. This is an award-winning watch face, the Neon. If you guys haven't seen the video we did on the contest for watch face design, make sure you check it out because this Neon was the one that won. But interesting is we're seeing a couple of little things, artifacts coming off the edge because it was designed for a circular watch. So we're starting to ease into something I want to talk about. Whenever you do face watch design, remember it could be pulled and put onto different platforms, including square, rectangular, or goodness knows what, triangular. So be careful you understand what your edges are going to look like. That should say steps, I believe, and battery. It's a little bit too broad for this one. Needs to scale down. The watch itself is going to scale to a certain extent, but depending on your design parameters, it's going to be possibly impossible. Now, here's an interesting one. One of my favorites, of course, because it's the fabulous smartwatch ticks, and we've seen that before right up to there, right? But because this face is longer than wide, it rendered in such a way it wasn't masked completely. The black is a mask of which everything else is built on top. And you see the mask ended there. And there is a twirling yellow-red thing going on. And if you look carefully, that's what's causing the dots in the marquee to light up. You see them lighting up? It's done because of that twirling thing through holes that are made in the mask. But the mask didn't go all the way up because whoever thought we would have a watch of these dimensions. Okay, now you know some things to check on your designs. This is a fun one, a one-handed watch. It's 10:45, right? I can do it all with one hand, and it's like a speedometer, and then your step count is on here. Here is, now we're getting into the really fun, playful ones, the round watches with twirly things and lots of nice detail, and I can brighten that up a bit. Not too much to oversaturate the digits, but enough to see the shadows. Very tricky. That's why it's really nice to have that display brightness thing going on. Here's another cool one. Good, we caught it at a right moment. Look at how this sweep second hand shifts the colors from red to green or green to red. I was just like, wow! The first time I saw this, I was like, wow! I had to run around and show everybody. Really fun design. Here we go, moon phases. Okay, I think it's a little off, but maybe not. No, we had full moon a while ago, so it might be getting close to new moon. Here's a fun one. This guy has a signature red sunglasses on his designs, and I think that's the name, right? Anyway, that's a thing you can think about doing, is somehow signaturizing your watch faces. Because like I said, after time, moving from watch to watch and changing the titles, we lose track of who made what. And you can always make sure you have your initials or some sort of an image that reflects you. Here's a fun little moire pattern analog watch. Simple little thing. This dates way, way back. This is fun too with the rotating circles, just a nice analog watch. A lot of these are the old traditional ones from years ago when the old XDA forum was the host site for most of these. This is cool. Can you tell the time and the two different colors? It's 10:46. You see that? You're not colorblind then. Cool. That was a very creative design. This is one of the very first original ones. Time and power. What more do you need except a record playing, right? That dates back, I believe, to Finau. And here's that earlier moire pattern that's been shifted to digital with basic information of what you need. So lots of different ways of playing with this. This is great. This was an incredibly complicated design showing the hours, minutes, and seconds as if on the sides of a cube. Very impressive, simple, yet very complicated. Here's hope none of you have any kind of seizure stuff. Look away right now if you do, because this thing really can mess with you. It flashing moire patterns going in multiple directions on an analog watch. For the school teachers amongst us, there's a rotating little eraser going around pencil time. This is a really nice rendition of a Bell & Ross watch face. There's several versions of this out there, but this one also has a cutout section that really looks cut out. You've got shadowing and everything in here with temperature and date and time and digital. That's one of my favorites. This is probably my all-time favorite face. Square, round, I don't care. Whatever you put it on, I feel elegant when I walk around with this face on my watch, and I notice people take notice. And if I have that puppy cranked up, now it's blooming on your screen somewhat, but it's gorgeous. Gorgeous gold right now in my hand. Oh, I love it. I love it. That's a winner for sure. Here's a fun gears in the side. Can you see that? Lots of little gears turning in there. A lot of detailed information in code to create that kind of a look. Here we've got analog and digital together. None of you are falling asleep. You must love this stuff. Here's the weather, current weather in the image, not a little thing on the side you have to hunt for. Boom, you know if it's sunny or rainy or cloudy or what, temperature, always in Celsius, unfortunately. We're still hoping someday that this will change to the Fahrenheit, but they haven't fixed that yet. Now here, this is interesting. Look at how we've got a shading with a square with a round floating in it, almost as if it was by design to be in a square watch. I don't know if that was by accident or what, but it's brighter here, darker there, and it gradients up, floating behind the watch face itself. There's a design idea for you to work with a square watch. Here's a circle with a strong image in the center, and again, you could do some broad thing that brings it out to the square. And if you're on a round watch, it would, of course, cut back down to just a circle. Looks familiar from the beginning. Same artist on this one. Oh, here's a nice one. I like the really bright circling markings on this. That is cool. Plus the way the shading is on the back mat of the watch itself. Very good artistic view of that. Here's another one with lots of gears and things going on, date up in the corner. You're going to try to move through so we don't get to where those hands cross over each other. And here's a nice sports watch digital, white. So you have kind of a bright screen one if you want at night, if you're going to be needing it as a flashlight. And then here's a really cool metal looking one with multiple gears happening. And that's it, folks, for my quick parade of watch faces to show you. Wow, we've already covered everything in the review and shown you the buying sources, so this was just a little add-on at the end to round things out for you watch face developers. It's a great watch. I'm very happy with it so far. Really looking forward to exploring more and showing you more too. All right, we'll see you again soon.